Alright, just loading into the game. Real time is on, and the replace is still happening. Oh wow, this is a Sarge mirror match.
Finally.
Cool. I'm still
Okay,
waiting in the replace screen, so there's no rush.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
Okay, cool. So this looks like some sort of aggro Sarge with that Fireblood Warlock. And that,
Yeah, and Obelisk out of all things.
yeah, so I really like the Fire Warlock and the Bone Swarm here because both are great at pinging artifacts.
Yeah,
Let's see what this is gonna be. There's some
it's
more.
kind of hard to say what kind of deck this is gonna be because
Okay, so Steph is playing
already
Wanderer. So Steph is playing Wanderer, it seems.
okay, no. I think Icicle tried to make that work, but I don't think it actually worked.
I'm not sure that it works either. Here I'd probably like play Ankh and like move my general back, kill them more, and then move my Metallurgist also back and threatening that mana tile. I think that's the way I'd play this.
Yeah. I mean, you could play on, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and that's going to be moving forward. That's going to hit them more, and then she's going to play. Well, Gio's going to play the Flame Warlock blocking the mana tile. Okay, that's also not too bad of a play. Like if you're playing aggro, it's nice to like get into their face, like close the distance. But
Yeah.
with the thing about Wanderer is they don't really have many tools to deal with artifacts. So, like yes, Russia's curse. So then Steph kind of does kind of instantly win if she has a curse. But it's not really a card you keep in hand.
But this doesn't really seem like a very artifact heavy list, so I think that he only plays like Spine Cleaver or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure if like losing the Ankh early on is gonna be a massive.
Yeah. And that's what 2 mana for 6 damage. Nice. Yeah, now you've got this awkward position here. Well, you can play Ankh here quite effectively, which is nice. Like Ankh, BBS, kill that tar.
Yeah. I mean, getting rid of the tar is pretty important, especially because you're playing this Wanderer, so they might be playing the Astor Basin.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a problem.
So I actually wonder what you do. Like, do you move next to the general? Or do you like move up, like away from the enemy general?
I personally think this is fine.
I guess this is better, like since you're playing aggro, and if Steph like removes your artifact, you can like stay in range of the enemy general.
Yeah.
That is a good argument for that. So here you probably play the BOA on the. Okay, I think like maybe playing BOA is slightly better there, since your opponent wants to replay the Healing Mystic. They don't want to replay the Wanderer, and like.
Yeah.
Having this useless card stuck in their hand is like a very good thing, yeah. So like
I think this is kind of missed.
yeah, I also think so. Yeah, you probably kill. Do you go face here? You probably. I don't know. I guess you go.
Face.
Yeah, I think you go face here as Steph. I don't think you need to go kill that poop.
You always go face though.
Yeah. Because then what? Joe would have been at 4 HP.
Yeah, then he will just needed like Wind Strike or something.
Yeah. Well, then she like Steph has a few outs. Like, okay, never mind. I was expecting that to go. Well played, Lethal. Nice. Well played. Thanks for stopping by, everybody, and have a good time.
So what you just saw was a clip from a stream by Zabio and Jim, which I will link in the video description below, where they reviewed a game between me and Gio. Gio has also edited the full set of 3 games, which I will also link in the description below so you can check out the full set. Now the purpose of this video is to talk about casting, or the practice of commentating in esports. Previously I had speculated about Pirate 101's possible development into an esports game, but as of right now I don't think it is that likely because the game lacks two important features, which is spectating and recording. Now what happens when spectating and recording are built into the game is that each player has a profile where you can access their match history. You can see which games they played against whom, and then you can go through and see exactly which moves were made, which cards each player had in their hand at any given time. And the pros of having such a detailed record for people to look back on is that people can go back and rewatch their own replays, see where they made any mistakes, and it also allows people to access other players' replays. So then this allows for the kind of community building that you will see in this video, where you basically are not alone in trying to figure out how to get better as a duelist. You have access to other people's thoughts on your plays, and you can see exactly when and where you could make better choices. And also, people think very differently, so having access to someone else's thoughts on your play is just always really helpful, even if you disagree with them, because it just allows you to see like the possible outcomes that could have happened when you take certain lines of play opposed to others. So now that I've gotten into Duelyst quite a bit and have gained access to this PvP culture, I thought I would share it with you guys. If anyone here is watching from Pirate 101, feel free to comment below what you think of this culture of exchange and critique, and whether that's something you would like to see for Pirate 101. My own feelings as I watched, Zabio and Jim comment on my games was, I felt like, wow, there's a lot of detail that I missed when I was playing, and it just really expanded my viewpoint a lot. Anyway, because Zab and Jim were kind enough to do the work of commentating for me and Gio, I decided to try my hand at casting and do the same favor for Zohan, which is another player that I admire quite a lot. He actually has a lot of people who admire him, including Boronian, who sets his games to music, and I'll link to a few examples in the video below. Zohan is what people might consider a meme deck builder. He plays a lot of off-meta decks, and he has like a mixed reputation as someone who's very good but also very bad at the same time, because like he plays all these really weird decks that nobody considers competitive. But somehow he consistently gets to S rank. He defies people's expectations of what a good player should be, so I figured it would be fun to share some of his matches with you guys, with his permission. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy my commentary.
Alright, so this was a game that I actually had the privilege of recording live, although I am doing the commentary post-game. It was a game where he was playing this variant of Aggro Riva against Wanderer Lilith. So he said Lilith is super scary, especially if it's Hyper Swarm. Turned out to be a Wanderer, which is still really scary if they draw Darkfire Sacrifice early, because it means they can play the Wanderer on 4 mana. And you can see here that Zohan's opening hand is not it doesn't have a card draw yet, so he replaced the Killing Edge and got a Jux. So he has a Tusk Boar and 2 Juxes, an Obscuring Blow, and a Mirror Meld. What he did here was kind of risky. He played 1 Tusk Boar, put it onto the mana tile, and then spent the remaining 2 mana on copying the Tusk Boar to take out the As Herald. Now the Tusk Boar will return to his action bar at the beginning of the next turn if the opponent doesn't take them out. But here you can see that El Pepe is a pretty experienced player, and he chooses to take out the first Tusk Boar with his general, and then he plays Healing Mystic on the mana tile, healing himself back up, and with the remaining 2 mana, he plays Inkhorn Gaze, which kills the remaining Tusk Boar. So now Zohan has fallen behind on cards. And also El Pepe has the Darkfire Sacrifice here, which he plays on the Mystic, so next turn is going to be the Wanderer turn. Now Zohan has fallen behind on card advantage. He chooses a more conservative route here, plays the Battle Pendo. Let me just hit pause for a second. Now the reason why he played just the Battle Pendo and nothing else is because he wants to make sure to have chances of refilling his hand later. So as you can see, he was quite lucky in drawing the Spelljammer. He has 3 Spelljammers and 3 Bakazoris in his deck. And the Battle Pendo does 1 damage to all enemies when it takes damage. Now the Wraithlings are going to be buffed because Wanderer is coming down, but if the Battle Pendo gets hurt twice, like let's say you ping it with a Gotatsu or something, then you can still clear Wraithlings. So that's why Zohan played out the Pendo there. Now it's El Pepe's turn, and we are expecting the discounted Wanderer to come down. So he's just placing his general in the central position, which gives him more options for movement. Then he trades damage with Zohan's general, because usually the game starts to swing in the Wanderer player's favor after Wanderer comes down. And Zohan accused me of jinxing his game, which I totally didn't mean to do. So here he has 5 mana to work with, and he plays the Heartseeker, because the Wanderer has an attack of 7 and 7 health, but if you can jux it into a spot that it's far enough, then that's enough defense, especially since this is an aggro deck and it aims to close out the game very quickly. So here Zohan is considering his options. Killing Edge on the Pendo would allow it to trade with the Wanderer, but that's probably not the correct play because it means he doesn't get to replenish his hand. So he plays out the Heartseeker, which is the Bloodbound spell. It effectively does not cost a card, and then juxes the Spelljammer and the Wanderer. So that way he has a Spelljammer in play and can also draw 2 cards at end of turn. And here he trades damage because as an aggro player he is aiming to close out the game quickly. So let me pause again. The reason why he is positioning the Pendo behind the Spelljammer is so that El Pepe's general cannot access the Battle Pendo, cannot kill it with like a Spectral Blade or something. And the Heartseeker was only there for the purpose of positioning the Spelljammer so it's fine for it to die, and El Pepe here is making the expected move, which is to go toward the Heartseeker and take it out. Now let's see if he has an answer to the Battle Pendo. So he moves the Wanderer down, and that allows him to play an Ephemeral Shroud next to the Battle Pendo, which is a really good answer and means that the Battle Pendo can no longer deal 1 damage to all enemies when it's hurt. And then he plays out a Maw and does some damage on the Spelljammer. So this would allow the Maw to trade with the Spelljammer, like if it's in the position to attack. Alright, now it's Zohan's turn. He replaces the Scroll Bandit and draws an Inner Focus. He also has the card Obscuring Blow in his hand, which would give a minion or general +2 backstab. Alright, so he moves the Spelljammer up, has it attack for 3 damage, and then uses Inner Focus on it, and then Obscuring Blow, and then Killing Edge. So Killing Edge allows you to draw a card when it's played on a minion with Backstab, so this move not only allows the Spelljammer to get in additional unblockable Backstab damage, but it also, so that's 9 damage there, but it also allows Zohan to draw 3 cards at end of turn. So as you can see, he drew Bakazori, Jux, and Inner Focus. Now, Alpepe trades 2 of his smaller units for the Spelljammer with the buff, and then he plays a Gore and plays a Photic Drain on it, killing for 5 and is now up to 13. Then he plays out Furiosa and his Bloodbound spell, so these Wraithlings are now 3 power. And then he moves away from Zohan. So now it's Zohan's turn. He replaces the Tusk Boar, and he moves to the other side of the board. He does have a Bakazori in hand, so and a Jux, so he can aim for some positional tricks pretty soon. And then he plays the Scroll Bandit in front of him as a body block, because the pet has celerity, meaning it can attack twice. And also with this positioning, it means the pet will naturally move toward the Scroll Bandit first and attack it from behind, and that sort of counts as a backstab even though the bandit didn't initiate it. So then the bandit gets to steal one of Alpepe's spells, which happens to be the Demonic Conversion. And then the second attack goes into Zohan's general, protecting the Heartseeker. So now Alpepe advances his forces and plays a Vorpal Reaver, which is a very threatening unit that can attack twice per turn and could potentially just kill Zohan together with the Wraithlings and other stuff. Then he plays out a Blood Tier Alchemist, which pings the Heartseeker and kills it. So now Alpepe has an overwhelming amount of lethal on board, so Zohan has to win this turn. So he Mist Dragon seals the Bakazori, which draws a card. So Bakazori draws a card whenever it's moved for any reason. So the first card that's drawn is a Zo, which is not useful. Then after moving and attacking, it draws the Scroll Bandit. Now Zohan uses Inner Focus, gets in for another 3 damage and draws another card. And then another card drawn happened to be the Battle Pando, and then he played Inner Focus again and got in for 3 more damage, putting Alpepe's general down to 4. And then the last card that he drew was the Tusk Boar. And then he has 1 positional effect left in hand, which is the Jux. So he places the Tusk Boar in a position where it can attack, and then he Juxes Bakazori and Vorpal Reaver, drawing 1 final card. And that final card happened to be the one that would give him lethal, and that was Mirror Meld. Summon a copy of a friendly minion nearby, so he was able to copy the Tusk Boar and get in for exactly 4. So that is how the majority of Zohan's games are won. Requires very swift thinking. So like if he missed lethal that turn, then Alpepe would have won for sure. And he said top decks for days, and I said Killing Edge would also have done it, because to be fair, like the amount of times the Bakazori moved, it was very, very likely for him to hit a card that would give lethal that turn. Alright, so since we've just watched Zohan win with an aggro deck against a control deck, let's watch something different where he was playing the opposite role, a very slow reactive sort of deck against an aggro deck. This was a Vitruvian deck using the General Sephiron, and the idea was to steal opponent minions. But in this specific matchup, he was against a Burn Fae who did not have a lot of big minions to steal. However, he still managed to win, you know, with the same improvisational thinking and swift moves that you saw at the end of last game. So let's go in and watch this game. And as you can see here, right just before I go in, you can see that his win-loss ratio overall is not that high. That's kind of what I mean, like he plays a lot of meme stuff, but he just really enjoys playing, and overall he wins slightly more often than he loses, which is how he's able to rank up. But yeah, let's go in and watch this match. And I'm actually going to fast forward a little bit because this game actually turned out to be rather grindy. So he replaced the high costing cards, the EMP, and Gunjam opens with a Crystal Cloaker, which will gain attack when it moves to Zohan's side of the field. And you can see that Zohan's deck is very slow. He plays a Rescue RX, which takes 2 turns to build. When it finishes building, gives his general 5 health. So now Gunjam is forced into sort of an awkward decision whether to spend his resources on attacking the building or to attack Zohan's general, because attacking Zohan's general means that when the building finishes building, Zohan gets health back. So now Gunjam is just trying to out-damage the amount of health that Zohan is hoping to get from the building. But even if that building doesn't manage to build, you can see that it already helped Zohan by absorbing some damage that would otherwise have been directed at his general. And even though the early game is super slow, like for Zohan, you can see that he is trying to build up toward the more interesting mid-game. So here Gunjam is just doing standard aggro play stuff. Refreshing the Warbird, getting in the Warbird damage, moving the Cloaker and Hearth's Sister forward to attack. Now Zohan has the option of using Blood of Air, which she does, so he spends his 5 mana on transforming the Cloaker and taking out the Hearth's Sister. He's just continuing to build up mana, and the reason he moved up is to give his general more positional options if Gundam tries to pressure him. Okay, so here Zohan bounces his battle pet that Gunjam had transformed, and then he stands on the sand tile to protect it so that he can make sure to get some dervish value out of it later. The sand tile spawns a dervish whenever you summon something from your action bar. Okay, so Gunjam uses Hailstone Prison on the Sand Swirl Reader and continues to pressure with the Bloodbound spell and general attacks. And then he plays Chromatic Cold, which is a very good answer to the sand tile. So dispels the sand tile and does 1 damage. So now Zohan is quite far behind, and he plays Zenri the Blightspawned, which he normally uses to steal people's minions, but here Zenri is just acting as a body blocker to prevent Gunjam from accessing his general. Now Gunjam plays Cryptographer, refreshes the Bloodbound spell, plays Warbird, and then tries to get rid of get around the Zenri. So here Zohan plays Psychic Conduit on the Cryptographer, crashes it into Gunjam for 2 damage. And attacks with Zenri. And then he plays as Herald in that position and moves his general down so that Gunjam cannot move after his general. So let me pause here for a second. You can see that even though Zohan is playing a very meme deck, like all of his plays are just very accurate. So because of the way that he positioned this, it means Gunjam can't reach him. So it's because of just this high amount of accuracy that he's able to get, you know, an above average win rate with these weird decks. Okay, so Gunjam has 4 cards left in hand, and he does have the Warbird activation. So he plays Warbird and is trying to figure out how to get out of this trap. Plays Blistering Scoring in that square so that he will potentially be able to play something next to Zohan later, and plays Chromatic Cold on the Zenri to get rid of it, and tries to move within range. So now Zohan moves the S Herald down, plays Central Reader on the mana tile, balancing the S Herald back to his action bar so he can replay it for the 3 health heal. And then he uses his Bloodbound spell to shrink the Blistering Scorn and attack it, and then he plays Psychic Conduit to reactivate the Blistering Scorn and crash it into Gungeon. So that was definitely a very improvisational play, making use of, you know, the steel tactics built into this deck, even though the minion being stolen was a very weak minion. So now Zohan is on 1 health. Gungeon had 3 cards left in hand, and Zohan needs to position very strategically here. Now let me just pause here. My first instinct would have been to move that way and play a body blocker diagonally, but the weakness of that line of play is that if Gungeon has a Hearth Sister or a Repulsor Beast, he can just get rid of that body block and attack. So Zohan made the less obvious but much more strategic play, which is to move 2 down and then play 2 body blockers. So, and both of the body blockers have pretty high health, 7 and 4 respectively. So now Gungeon has only, let's pause here again. Gungeon has 3 cards left in hand, 2 damage from the Warbird, and he already played his Cryptographers earlier, so pretty sure he no longer has any Cryptographers. I could be mistaken, but either way, it's very hard for him to get that extra 2 damage out of hand, and he can't reach Zohan, like unless he has 2 Repulsor Beasts or 2 Hearth Sisters to get rid of both of these body blocks. So here you can see that out of frustration he just hit the EMP and Zohan got the win. Like, you might say it's luck, but it's also very strategic positioning, and like he just kind of stays calm and active and plays and makes the best possible plays under the circumstances, even when his general is only on 1 health, you know. So I guess the main takeaway from this video is that you can learn a lot from watching people play, especially if you think about why they position their units the way that they do. Even if you just rewatch your own replays and vocalize your thoughts to yourself, you know, that can help a lot in improving as a duelist. So thank you to Zohan for allowing me to talk about your games. Thank you to Zab and Jim for commentating on my games with Geo, and thank you to Geo for being such a thoughtful opponent and also for editing our games. Leave a like if you appreciated this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.